I'm going to finally reveal, I guess, in episode 3, what I find to be the holy grail in Mario. This is way more unique than you would even give yourself credit for, but it's not always, having the best sales team. It's not always having the flashiest marketing campaigns or strategies. It's this closed loop that exists or should exist, but almost never does, between what the marketing folks are doing and having a transparency in terms of what leads are being generated, then a mutual transparency to say, once those leads come in, how are we operationally addressing them, and do we need to fix things operationally? So now we have marketing, operations that lead to sales, and then usually if you get that far, which is rare, the data dies there because no one's feeding the sales data back into the marketing to tell them this lead closed, this lead was a great lead but didn't close, this was a horrible lead, we don't want any more people like this because they don't fit our customer profile. Because you could take all that data, which we'll come back to in a second, Curtis, and feed it into your marketing algorithms. But this closed loop, is this just your nature, Mario, or is this something you had to discover along the way, that there's too many holes between sales, operations, and marketing to get a full circle solution that's going to actually work, drive, and be measured?
Yeah, I think it was an aha moment when we implemented CallRail because, you know, Curtis on a monthly basis would ask for data to come back so he could feed it to make the algorithm better and better. And what we noticed was that, geez, if we're losing 3 to 4 clients in 2 days, there's so much data that he's now losing, right? And, it's this perpetual problem. We can spend 50% more on marketing, 100% more on marketing. And guess what? The results will be no better because we didn't fix the internal sales process, right? And, our sales process is a little longer than, we'll call it like a product, an iPhone or soda or something that, a thing, a tangible thing. We're selling a service that, people don't need right away, or they do need it right away. It's not a consumable good. It's a sort of a necessary service that requires some grooming, right, over time. But what was interesting, and we discussed it today, is that we have different marketing mediums, right? And there wasn't one fix all, right? Like Curtis said, we didn't spend any more in marketing in the web marketing this year than last year, but there's better results. We didn't spend more in PR this year than last year. Advertising, so commercials, radio, newspaper, we didn't spend more. As a matter of fact, we probably spent less, but we have more conversions, right? So, and this is a hypothesis, but it's like there's no one marketing channel that's like a fix all, right? That you should be responsible. Hey, all these leads are coming in just because we spent more on the web or more on PR. There's no kind of one marketing attribution, but it is that one thing on your internal sales end that can ruin all of your marketing efforts, right? So if you're not actually capturing those leads, in our instance, it was going to the wrong folks, right? If you're not capturing the leads, if you're not actually solidifying what the client wants, and actually converting the client, getting it to the right people, almost all that marketing kind of goes to waste, right? Or at least a significant part of it. And in Curtis's example, where the company that they just didn't ask for the phone number, right, or the email address, and folks were showing up at the showroom, and they didn't know if it was actually the people that they were marketing to. That's the exact example that we're talking about here. In our end, it was actual clients that we truly knew wanted service. They were sales qualified leads. They were convertible sales qualified leads. And because they were going to the wrong folks, we weren't able to convert them, right? And that all equals revenue, right? That's all the ROI that we spend on the marketing kind of going away, just because operationally it's going to the wrong folks internally.
So, Curtis, why do you think there is this sort of invisible curtain between sales and marketing in most organizations? Why are they so afraid to share data back and forth. I mean, I have my own hypotheses, but I guess the bigger question is then how do you overcome those, whatever those apprehensions are? How do you overcome them, and why is it so important? I mean, I think we're demonstrating here as a case study, but just generally speaking, why do you demand these mutual accountability meetings? Well, demand's a strong word, but and ask for the data.
Yeah. Well, it's complex. I mean, and that may be the biggest thing with this. It takes time. And oftentimes an organization is driven by trying to fix things quickly or plug holes. We're behind on our numbers. And so we need to throw money at X in order to drive leads. Instead of taking a step back, looking at the big picture. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing is oftentimes we fall into the situation in marketing where a company needs to hit numbers and says, can you do X, Y, and Z because we need to get to this by the end of the quarter, by the end of the year, or in this next fiscal year, without taking a step back saying, do we have the systems in place, not just from a marketing perspective, but inside the sales organization to do this all effectively? And so, if there's willingness in the organization to do that, and which is usually a champion, Mario's our champion at assisted living. If there's a champion in the organization that's willing to put those pieces together, then I think it could all come together. If there's not, then you'll have a chief revenue officer, a CMO, a CEO. You'll have somebody at that level who's just basically saying, no, we just need to put more money at this because we need to drive leads into the pipeline. And then from our perspective, we just feel like they go into a dark hole. And we don't get the information that we need.
I also find sometimes there's a misalignment of incentive. It should go without saying that marketing and sales at the end of the day should have the same end in mind, which is increasing revenue. But marketing has become so sophisticated that it can be seducing to chase the wrong metrics, say clicks or form fills you mentioned, right? Let's get to form fills. Let's get some conversions into the funnel, where we're talking about a company now that has some percentage of their sales are going to come from a phone call because that's the most natural medium for that prospect to communicate with you, right? So if the metrics are how many clicks are we getting to the extent that you're ignoring the natural course, well, now marketing's going for clicks and sales is just going for closes, and the sales metrics, they're not looking beyond the close because once that's in the pipeline, they're on to the next thing, right? So how do we align, Mario, this is a question for you, maybe. How were you successful in aligning the sort of big picture incentives so that people aren't in vacuum saying, well, I hit my quota, I hit the clicks quota, and I hit my quota, it's the sales quota?